Our next speaker comes from France. Is a very impressive credential, Mr. Bernard Stroiazzo Mougin. I hope I pronounced your name correctly. Yeah. Now, he was born in France and hold a degree in thermodynamics and fluid mechanics. He's an ITT engineer, right? Okay. He's also an inventor of a whole list of patents. The key thing is that he's the inventor of the third cycle of CO2 energy conversion technology. And he began his career working with engineering and construction of thermal power plant and refinery in Europe and abroad. And actually, he worked with Thomson CSF, developing defense systems for various oil fields in the Middle East. There's a list of very impressive patents, actually. He specializes in developing and working with his team of German scientists to develop different systems related to ionization control through an artificial electromagnetic field. Right. So he has many patents, including the complete process of the third CO2 cycle. It's a model that allows the production of crude oil and high-value nutritional product through the neutralization of CO2 emission. And we can't wait to hear what he has to say, you know, right? This late into the afternoon. So, Bernard, are you ready to share with us?
Yes. Thank you very much. Thank you very much to invite me to this honorable conference, and I will be pleased to present a new technology to help to solve the problem, to help and solve the problem of climate and energy through the third cycle of CO2. If you want, I will go to my presentation to explain all of this process. This process is based on ocean life. By photosynthesis, the phytoplankton absorb more than 30% of CO2 of the planet and produce more than 50% of our oxygen. The objective was to create a new intensive mini-ocean artificial on surface. I will explain that through my presentation. Ocean field, our objective is to capturing, neutralizing, and converting CO2 into nutrition and high-value products. The next one. The ocean is the key of the climate change. Like I told you before, the ocean absorb more than 30% of our CO2 and produce more than 50% of our oxygen. How we proceed, we accelerate the process of the ocean that capture, neutralize, and convert the CO2, creating carbon negative energy on electric, automotive, and aviation and naval industry. Creating high-value products for pharma, cosmetic, and nutrient industry in the process. The climate dynamic and the collateral CO2 effect, everybody knows that, actually, because every 1 degree of the global temperature provokes 7% of increase of global humidity, and this humidity is enormous energy potential comparable at 24 million megaton of TNT. This tremendous latent energy is influencing the thermodynamic of the climate, provoking hurricane, typhoon, and flood. The solution, carbon negative through the third cycle of CO2, using biotechnology and physics patented process to reduce the CO2 and neutralize the CO2 and generating profit. The third cycle of CO2. Everybody knows that 3 billion years ago, the bioenergetic process appeared, changing the face of our planet, transforming solar energy into chemical energy, making the photosynthetic process the best and most efficient energy transformer. First cycle is the cycle where, in this planet in the beginning, there was no oxygen. And the first cycle the CO2 coming from the magma and has been the origin of our oxygen. And the fossil energy by photosynthesis. Second cycle is the cycle where we are living now, biological or photosynthetic cycle, and the combustion of the fossil energy. But that creates a problem with the excess of CO2, and we are creating the third cycle of CO2, accelerating conversion and neutralizing the CO2 coming from the flue gas emission. This technology is patented worldwide. The CO2 is an important source of carbon, and the world needs carbon molecule, be it for energy, material, and products. While the growing African country energy need more demand than supply, compensation of the forest deforestation, provide balanced nutrition, opportunity to export high-value product, and plant side already discussed. Okay, energy in Africa, yes, more or less, in a developed country like Europe, US, and China, we use around between 14,000 kilowatt per person to 7,000 kilowatt per person, when Africa use a maximum 300 kilowatt per person. It's a big challenge there. The capacity of our bioreactor is to absorb the equivalent of CO2 of 1 hectare of forest. That means 1 hectare of bioreactor absorb the equivalent of 90 hectares of forest or 250 hectares, depending on the latitude. And 75% of the CO2 we absorb will be completely neutralized. It will not reappear never in the atmosphere. It doesn't go through. Sorry. That's all. Okay. Yeah, and deforestation is a real problem everywhere in the world, and we can compensate that with the installation of our bioreactor. Also, we create some nutritive products, and we have one specific product based on the protein, lipid, and the carbohydrate, very well balanced for the country where those vitamins they are not very well balanced, and we can compensate that by the intake of our product. We call that the seagull. With 10 or 50 grams per day per person, we compensate all of the difference of nutrition. Unbalanced diet originated by social or cultural reasons. That is the product with all of the certification. The small daily intake of seagull, 10 to 50 grams, could help to mitigate the negative effect of bad or unbalanced diet. All of those products are made from neutralization of CO2. Your high-value product is based of CO2 for different markets: nutraceutical, food, aquaculture, cosmetic, and pharmaceutical. We cultivate marine phytoplankton to build the building block for life, and industrial scale using the partner technology to go oversee and fully automatize the production process on the aseptic atmosphere, maintaining high quality homogeneous product through the year. The production capacity in our facility offer high yield in meeting market demand. We have more than 10-year expertise and know-how. High-value products, some of them polysaccharide for cosmetic nutritional, phycobilieprotein, phycocyanine, for aquaculture, for nutrition supplement, omega-3, and all of those products. Developed products for nature-cyanine, omega, and all of those products on the market. The market is huge. Commercial interest everywhere in the world by different big company. They need those products on the basic product. Okay, that we come back to the process, converting CO2 into energy and high-value product. The initial concept of the third cycle of CO2 was based on the observation the CO2 molecule contains 27% of carbon atoms. The petroleum molecule contains 85% of carbon atoms. Ocean Field developed the technology to accelerate the constant conversion of the CO2 into energy and nutrient, and capturing more CO2 that will be generated by those products. Did you see the CO2 come from the flue gas, go to our reactor, and from there, with the sunlight, sun energy, we produce a different product. High-value product for nutrient, omega pharmaceutical, mineral carbon, and electricity. Using phytoplankton, like they are in the sea, the most populated concentration in the sea, through the unaccelerated powerful process. In comparison, when you have in the sea around 500 molecules per milliliter, in our reactor, we are 500 million cells per milliliter. That means 1 cubic meter of our reactor represents the equivalent of bioenergy contained in 1 million cubic meter of seawater. That's very important. That is a key of our technology. Okay, and that is a process. Industrial flue gas go to the capture and separation. The CO2 is via pipe or via truck or boat go to our plant. The conversion of the CO2 through an intensive photochemistry process. You can see that in the different installation. And neutralization and decarbonization process, that is a patented process, is unique in the world. Can be, we absorb more CO2, it will be re-emitted by the process. That is the schema, more simple schema of process production. When we extract lipid, carbohydrate, and protein, and decarbonated energy, like I was telling you before. Source of CO2, everybody knows that. Coal fire plant, gas fire plant, petrochemical industry, steel mill, waste incineration, cement factory, transport company. And from there, we create the 3D solar company because, the human use around we use around 13,000 megaton equivalent petrol. That means 1,570,000 terawatt per year. This energy can be produced by the solar, if we know to use the solar energy, in 55 minutes. And we try to optimize the solar energy. That means in a 1 hectare plant, we are able to absorb 2.8 tons of CO2 and neutralize 2.2 tons of CO2 will never go back in the atmosphere. At the same time, we generate 4,800 megawatt hour per year of carbon negative and electricity, and 100 ton of biomass will be used for the high-value products. Carbon negative electricity, that means the process we inject 2,200 kilo of CO2 from the industry. In the process, some part of no process in the world is the yield is 100%. We are lost in the process, but in the end, we can make with these 2,200 tons of CO2, we lose 848 kilo of CO2 in the process, and with 1 megawatt, we produce 1 megawatt, and we neutralize 1,352 kilo of CO2. That means for each megawatt of bioelectricity we produce, we neutralize 1,335 tons of CO2. We will never be emitted in the atmosphere, or emitted in the atmosphere. That's a very important point. If we compare that non-polluant, we know carbon emit. If you use carbon to make electricity, you emit between 750 and 1 kilogram of per kilowatt. Heavy fuel 850 grams per kilowatt. Biomass wood between 0 to 1,500 grams per kilowatt. Gas, solar, photovoltaic, wind, hydraulic, and nuclear. We are counting the remnants of all of the material to build the nuclear plant over 30 or 40 year service. And we are the only company making a kilowatt absorbing CO2. That is we use the gas of the industrial power plant through our reactor and to reuse the energy from the biomass. That we can say the first car propulsed by the ocean. That means it's a polemic now to know for the electric car to know from where is coming the electricity. If the electricity comes from the carbon plant, like you see before, you don't reduce the CO2. But if it's emitted by a nuclear plant or something like that, yes, you reduce. You don't issue any CO2, and there we reduce the CO2. We neutralize CO2. Carbon negative crude oil is the same process. And we are simulating and accelerating the process of diagenesis and catagenesis. Contaminated by mitigation through the different layers of the earth, from the problem of the heavy metals. Non-polluant absorb 2.2 tons of CO2 per barrel and neutralize 1 ton, coming from permanent binary fission and efficiency 10,000 kilocalories per kilo. That is the process of the carbon and negative crude oil, the same process, industrial emission 2,200 kilo of CO2 to feed the process, the self-combustion, the syngas, the process output, and the output in supply 2,200 kilo, output system, including the motor combustion, 1,188 kilo, neutralization, 1,012 kilo of CO2. It's the only process in the world we pretend to neutralize the CO2. That means with this process, quickly the yeah. It's the one test of the okay. That means with this process, if we want to continue with the fossil oil, because we can talk about new energy, nuclear, and so on, but the main energy for our humankind now is covered by 82% by the fossil energy. And the fossil energy is not tomorrow we will finish that. It's impossible. And the best is to neutralize the fossil energy by the mixing that with our new ocean oil. Taking into account the combustion of each barrel of crude oil will emit 340 kilo of CO2, and 1 barrel of decarbonated oil eliminates 1 ton of CO2. If we blend this barrel with 3 barrels of oil, the total of 4 barrels will be zero emission. That's maybe one solution for the future, because we cannot go out of the fossils so easily and so quick. That is a different assessment. The crude oil exists, it's comparable to Arabian Lights, with the advantage to not containing any heavy metal and sulfur. That's been a comparative also, like you see, for the electrical use before. And also we can make a biodegradable plastic with the same process. And this type of plant, the configuration of the reactor can be depend of which.
I think
yes. Okay. Okay, it's finished now. Okay, that layout of the plant.
I think he's looking and he's very excited about what he's talking about. He finished it. Okay, fine.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. And that is our thank you for your attention. And we hope we can help little bit to the realization of the climate and energy change.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Bernard. Very impressive. Very refreshing also, your third carbon dioxide cycle. Okay, well, I'd like to know more. All right, we come to a point, maybe we should take a short bio break, about 10 minutes. Should be enough for us to stand up, do some exercise, go to a bio break, and we come back about 4:42. Exactly, right? Okay. All right, see you back here at 4:42. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Bernard. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Michaels. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now have a short break. So we'll take a 10-minute break. So as mentioned by Dr. Michael a moment ago, we will see you back at 4:42. For those who are joining us in the hall today, the tea is served outside the ballroom. So do enjoy your tea, and I'll see you back shortly. Thank you.